jump in and get started and wanted to just say good morning to all of you and so grateful that you are joining us for this call. We had such a great call a couple of weeks ago, and for those of you that were on that call, I just felt very compelled to jump in and put together a webinar just to support our industry as a whole. There's so much going on, so much information coming at us, and Barry was so gracious to be on that call with us as well to give us up-to-the-minute market update. And I was really grateful that he could be on this call with us for a few minutes today as well. I do hope that your families and your teams and your loved ones are safe and healthy. I know that this is a very, very trying and uncertain times, and I don't care how strong you are as a leader. I've been on the phone, as I know Barry has, all week with leaders all over the country, and I can tell you that everybody is very uncertain in their own way. So this is challenging all of us. And now it's try to figure out how we can sort of reinvent ourselves amidst the chaos. And that's what I'm here today with a great team. Jonathan Roche is going to be with us here in just a little bit as well. He's a health and fitness and mindset master. He's going to give you some great inspirational wisdom as well that you can take into your day. I do want to just give you a couple of quick Zoom tips. We are keeping everybody muted on this call. We're not going to do Q&A because we have so many people signed up. So please feel free. You can put questions in the chat. The best way if you have questions is to email our team at info@cindyertman.com. And I'm happy to get back to you with any response that you may need to the information that we covered today. And Barry, I always know I can reach out to you if we need to answer questions for the team here on the call. So I always appreciate that. There is a chat feature. Most of it is at the bottom. But just please keep yourself muted if you would during the call, because I want to make sure that we keep our time really, really dialed in for our speakers today. So first, I just want to introduce Barry Habib, who is in between calls today, and he made such a, I just appreciate you being willing to jump on this call again to share with this community kind of up to the minute what's going on. As you know, Barry is the CEO of MBS Highway. If you are not an MBS Highway member, I can't even begin to recommend it enough. He is probably the most followed man in America right now, as you know, really America's #1 financial analyst, certainly for the mortgage and real estate industry. So Barry, thank you so much for being with us, and we're excited to hear what you have to say.
Thanks, Cindy. It's really nice to be here with everybody. I see so many friends that are on there. So just as Cindy said, I really hope that you and your families are safe and healthy. And the good news is that we're going to be in, we have reason to be optimistic, but we're going to go through a little bit of a rough period. And the last time, Cindy, that you were nice enough to hold one of these calls, we were right in the midst of trying to get the Fed to understand the unintended consequences. And you know what? Everybody here on the call, I'm sure, and certainly all of our subscriber base and everyone in the industry that took that letter that we had and got it in front of people at the Fed. Peter Bookfar certainly did. I spoke to 2 former Fed members, and then Kaplan on the Fed currently, and John Walden doing this, and being on the phone with Steve Leisman till 11 o'clock at night 2 Sundays ago, when those collective efforts got in front of the Fed, and we were told, hey, the Fed's got it, they've heard us. And the good news is we stopped this insanity of the margin calls and got the Fed to understand what they were doing. And as you noticed, for the past now 8 days, you've seen the market really, really steady and beautiful, and people are starting to recover from the crippling margin calls. I've got to tell you all that, everybody in this industry was calling me and saying, we can't take too much more of this. Some people were saying that they might not have been able to make it another week, which would have been really, really ugly. So I'm so appreciative of the combined efforts from all of us, which we've really come through and put that issue to bed. But there's another bad issue that's out there right now, and that is this irresponsible forbearance opportunity, which is really what it is. Now, people who need forbearance because they lost their job, of course, they should get it. But we just can't understand Mark Calabria, and we can't understand what his rationale is by making it open for everyone. You'd have to say, is the man either that naive or foolish and hasn't learned from anything, or is there an ulterior motive? And I don't know. I just don't know. I can't get inside the man's head. It doesn't make sense. So, without spending $1 of taxpayer money, you could fix this problem. As easy as it was for us to explain to the Fed, if Mark Calabria were to just simply say, in order to receive forbearance, you have to prove hardship. So let me just frame this for everybody so we'll understand really quick. Forbearance, I think we all know by now, it's not forgiveness, but that was not communicated either. So there's a tsunami of calls coming in, and real estate agents are out there saying, oh, just like a furniture store would advertise, oh, no payments for the first 6 months. Realtors are telling people, buy a home, no payments for the first year, and really trying to game the system. And I'm sure you've heard stories of so many people who can totally afford to make the payments who think they're gaming the system. And all you'd have to do is just say, hey, it's only for those who need it. We've learned this in Louisiana from floods and hurricanes and other places. We learned it from the Great Recession and the housing bubble. We learned our lessons here that there are moral hazards, but yet Calabria opened it up for everybody, and his comments have been so cavalier. Well, we're on the honor system. And now independent mortgage bankers who are struggling with this saying, well, it's not that bad. It's just spin. I mean, I don't know, how cold and the lack of empathy and lack of understanding, it makes you wonder if there is truly, maybe he's got a plan and he's executing that plan, which would not be a good thing. But as far as we're all concerned, this is going to be a bit of a rocky road for us here. The place we're going to go to is going to be great. But the reason why I say it's a rocky road is because you're probably already seeing, sometimes you can't get a 0-point quote. Certainly, difficult to get a lot of par premium. You are seeing difficulty with certain programs. We know non-QM, and to some degree, some jumbo product is kind of going by the wayside. And a lot of you have questions, why? Well, the forbearance issue and, of course, the unemployment rate, which is expected to continue to rise, create uncertainty as to whether loans are going to be paid in a timely manner. Now, interestingly enough, for FHA, there is this COVID-19 partial payment plan, which now will, in a way, remedy the situation. So what happens is that if someone claims forbearance on a transaction that is a FHA loan, what occurs is that the servicer will work with them. How much? Maybe they'll start with 3 months, maybe it's 6 months, but they can request in increments up to a year of forbearance. I think you guys probably know this, but then what will happen is that there's a waterfall procedure. So the borrower will be requested to pay it all after the forbearance. They say, I can't do that. Well, then maybe we'll increase your payments for the next year or 2 years. I don't want to do that. We'll do a loan modification. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, well then there becomes a secretary lien. It's kind of like a second mortgage. And that money that's in the secretary's lien is then used to bring the mortgage current. So they're in a good spot on the mortgage. And when that home is paid off by sale, by refinance, whatever, that secretary lien, just as if it was a second mortgage, that would get paid at that point in time. Now that mechanism, although I don't agree with a lot of aspects of it, at least that keeps the mortgage industry from that perspective okay. But conventional transactions, which as you know represent a very large segment, Calabria has refused to create such a facility. And he's refused to mitigate it to some degree with the restriction of people who don't need it, who have not been affected. And the reason why this is so important, and I know people are saying there's a lump sum payment due. Yeah, that's the first thing they're going to ask for. It's exactly what I said. There's a waterfall. You first ask to pay it up, but then if they don't, so you can go down this waterfall. The thing that we have to remember here is that if there is someone who closes a loan and says, oh, great, I'm going to listen to my realtor, no payments for the first 12 months. Missing the first payment constitutes a first payment default, which makes the loan not saleable. And for those of you that have some understanding of how the warehouse system works, great, but just for everybody's benefit, just in case, let's go through it together. So imagine you have a mortgage company that's your own mortgage company and you want to fund loans, but you don't have your own money for funding. So you intend to close the loan and then sell it, but that doesn't happen simultaneously. There has to be an interim step. You have to use a line of credit known as a warehouse line. So that's how you wire the funds. You tap into your line of credit, money goes to the closing table. And then what will happen is that when the paperwork comes back, you make sure that's there and everything that's supposed to be in the package in a specific order gets packaged up in post-closing. It takes, a week or 2 weeks. Let's say it takes 2 weeks, and then you're able to send that to the investor. you get reimbursed. So your credit line, which was drawn upon to fund the loan, gets replenished when you sell the loan. And imagine if you had, let's make it simple, $1 million warehouse line. $1 million warehouse line, you can turn that twice a month. That gives you the ability to fund $2 million a month. And I know many of you are saying, I've noticed that sometimes funding is taking a little longer. It's taking a little, because here's what's going on. You see, the warehouse line, we know this. If there's a first payment default on a conventional loan, and PennyMac was out there yesterday saying, hey guys, you're going to get some buybacks if we see a first payment default. You have to buy the loan back. So how do you buy it back? You wind up having to put it back on your warehouse line. So I just want you to think about this. If you had $1 million, that means you could fund $2 million in loans. But let's say if you bought back just one loan of $300,000. Well, now your warehouse line went from $1 million to $700,000 that's available for funding, which means you turn it over twice, which means you now can only fund $1.4 million instead of $2 million. And I use this simple example to show you the fact that every loan you buy back has a doubling effect in the restriction of your ability to fund. And yet Calabria has turned a cold shoulder to this, as has Minution. So we're in the midst of this, and the MBA wrote kind of a scathing letter to Calabria last night. And over the weekend, Chris Whalen, who's a friend of mine and very well respected, wrote a really interesting article saying that Calabria needs to go. Trump needs to remove him, and remove him right now, because he's being really irresponsible. Let's remember that, on these on the agency transactions, servicers didn't create this. First of all, nobody created this virus, here in the US at least. It's not our fault. And what we're dealing with now is that this edict saying, hey, look, we know that these are loans that we're guaranteeing anyway. We're telling the borrower not to pay. We've done it irresponsible by saying you can game the system and you could screw everybody by not needing it, have $10 million in the bank, but you still don't make your mortgage payment. All that moral hazard and irresponsibility by Calabria, all that stuff. And then all the fallout from it, that your loan can't get sold because of forbearance, that you have to advance payments, one payment on a conventional loan, which is overwhelming. And just turning a deaf ear to it is beyond logic, team. It is beyond logic. And we've been working really hard to try and get things done. But unlike the Fed, who really wanted to do something and was helpful, that's not the case with FHFA and Calabria. So that's kind of where we are. Do I think we'll get through it? I think we'll get through it. I think that some people who do a lot of servicing will have a bit more struggle, and we'll see where it comes out. But, we want to pray for everybody here. We want to pray for, we're not competitors here. Yeah, we're brothers and sisters here. And these are real families that need jobs, that service people, that help people. We just got to pray for everybody to get through this and pull together to get through this. So that's kind of where we are on that, Cindy. But yeah, I do have some stuff on the medical front. And I do have some hopes for the future as to what things look like.
Yeah, please share that. Also, I have one quick question too for you, Barry, in terms of, after I was reading about what happened with PennyMac, in terms of the EPO situation and how that could potentially impact originators and companies.
Cindy, there's going to probably be some changes. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to get above par pricing in an easy manner. You're probably going to have to deal with more severe prepayment or early payment restrictions. These are going to be things that are going to be adjustments that we'll have to make. But listen, we're all strong. We're going to adjust to this. And the nice thing is everybody will be in the same boat. So, the new normals that will be out there will still be really beneficial. And that's what I want to kind of lend hope to. Let's start with the medical update. And you know that I speak to Mike Rosen, Dr. Oz's partner. And Mike Rosen's such a sweetheart. Some of you have seen him on the calls that we've done. He's just unbelievable. And I speak to him a few times a day. And what Mike wants us to know is that the virus is behaving just as he thought. And probably towards the end of this month, we'll see a much lower incidence due to seasonality. I don't quite understand how it works, but the energy of the sun tends to cause viruses to go away. But that means that in around October, it could come back, should come back, will come back. However, we will get some sort of a reprieve. And there's a lot of therapeutics that are out there, many drugs, the ones that you see. Hydroxychloroquine has a lot of promise, along with azithromycin. There are some potential side effects. You have to always be careful. But evidently, our government seems to feel that it's got some promise, because they stockpile 29 million doses of it. So maybe they're thinking that there's something to it. Let's just hope it gives us a weapon out there. And what I heard from the National Institute of Health is that there is a signal we might get an understanding of a vaccine, not as far back as they thought. It might come sooner, and it might come as soon as November or December of this year. Pray to God that that happens. Now, why is that so important? Because that's when everything changes. Look, we'll feel better as cases subside, and they will. And we'll feel better if we have a therapeutic response, thank goodness. But people are still scared, and this can wreak some havoc. There are many cases that are asymptomatic or that have mild symptoms, but let's understand that the mortality rate, I want you guys to understand this, the mortality rate is, and I'm going to give you this is all coming from Dr. Roizen from what I tell you. This is not through me. I'm sorry, through me. This is not from me. I'm not a doctor, although I did play one in a movie one time. So, when it comes to a few things you should know, the mortality rate of the flu is 0.15%, but so many people still die from it just simply because people don't get vaccinated. You could eradicate it if everybody got vaccinated. Out of the 330 million people in the US, only 110 million dosage were taken of flu vaccine. So that's a good thing. Dr. Roizen wants everybody to do that. The other thing is that please be careful if you know anybody or anybody who has this awful disease. Do not take ibuprofen or Tylenol. Be very careful. Ask your doctor to the extent you can. Aspirin, aspirin, aspirin. If you can, please consult your physician, but do not take ibuprofen or Tylenol unless you really talk to your doctor, because it has been shown that this makes the conditions much worse. Almost all the severe cases had some sort of a mixture with this. In addition to that, vitamin D, vitamin C, and a lot of vitamin C. To take a little bit of an overabundance of it. Sometimes it's a little bit upsetting to your bodily functions, what I mean, over a lot of vitamin C, but that is something that really helps. Get in the shower and turn on the steam and breathe the steam in. That's what they used to do during 1918 with the Spanish flu. That was the main. They didn't have medicines for it, but that's what they had to do to help people get better. So these are all things that you should know as just, home care and things that are important. Now, because we have the most reported cases doesn't mean we have the most cases, because governments like China, they just lie. They're just one big lie after another, that government. Don't believe it. But what you should know is that even though we are the most cases reported, it is just that it's reported. It doesn't mean we have the most cases, but it also means that we likely have, according to Dr. Roizen, 10 times the amount that are reported. So there's probably over 3 million people that have this disease right now. Wow. But many are asymptomatic. Many are very, very mild symptoms. So you have to be careful of a few things here. Is that number one, as I told you about, just be careful with ibuprofen and Tylenol. Just watch that. The other is the death rates are probably much less than anticipated, because they're probably like 0.4%, but you still have to be really careful about this stuff. There's so much that he's informed me on. So forgive me if I'm struggling a bit. I'm trying to get all of the information to you as best as I can, convey this to you, and just use exactly his words and not mine. So the good news would be, if we do get a vaccine, this is when we're going to want to hug each other once again. Unless we were all born for human interaction, and we want human interaction. And I believe that while things will be different, if we start to get vaccine and we could feel good about it. This is what happened with polio. This is what happened with measles. Okay. We've been through this before, and our economy will begin to recover. I think those who say it's a V recovery or even a U recovery, meaning the shape of the recovery goes way down and way up, I think that's just a fool's game to believe that. Okay, that's just stupid. And even the people are saying a U recovery, there's no way you can have this kind of a recovery where it's straight up, because there are so many challenges. Even with a vaccine, businesses can't just flip on a switch and come back online, many of them. So it takes time, and you can't help innately. Some people will be wanting to change behavior to some degree. Hey, in Asia, and I'm not saying the way it's going to be here, it's common to wear masks. It's common to keep your distance. People don't shake hands oftentimes there. So there are things that will change, but things that will affect business as well. So I think we will recover. But I want to talk to you about opportunities, because it's during these times that you see opportunities develop. Now, I think 2021 will be a very good year. I think all along we'll have very low rates. You have an enormous market that's going to be available to you to refinance, between $4 and $5 trillion of available refinance market, more than you could ever imagine doing. Your biggest problem is, how am I going to do all the business I'm about to do? So however much money you want to make will only be limited by your effort and hours in a day. That's it. You're in a very blessed position in a very blessed business, which is why I'm saying we need to kind of get through this period and do whatever we can to be cooperative, because the end result will be really good for us. The other thing is the housing market is a huge opportunity for me, for all of us rather. A month ago, when Corona was still a beer, when you were thinking about purchasing a home, it was very common to have multiple bids. It was difficult to find a home, especially if that home were, let's call it maybe a bit above median home price, even 50% above median home price or lower. The market was red hot. You know that, okay? So buyers were frustrated. Well, guess what? This is your chance right now. People live in a home on average, according to the Realtor Association, for 10 years. Somebody who purchased their home during this time and gets a discount, man, they're going to be really, really, really happy in the future. And what we also need to know, guys, and I'm just going to wrap it up with this too, is that when you take a look at the forecasts for real estate, and I know I just said I'm going to wrap it up. I'm getting, Nicole's coming in here and saying, just giving me this. So team, here's the thing. When we take a look at forecasts, so we have our internal forecast here by zip code. I got information from John Burns and one of the sweetest, brightest ladies, Ivy Zellman, who you guys have been becoming more familiar with. I talk to Ivy every single day, and she's been on many of our calls and giving great information. She's the #1 housing analyst in the world. Ivy's a little bit more optimistic. She only sees maybe a 3, 4, 5% drop in real estate prices. John Burns sees much deeper drop because he feels that employment will lag coming back. What I want to tell you is that our models here and my forecast is that we will see real estate values drop, but not quite as severe as John Burns, but a little bit worse than Ivy's. We see it between a 5 and 8% decline in values for a short period of time, but start to really pick up even as rapid as next year, to where you see year-over-year valuations actually be higher. So we're very optimistic that real estate will come back because of all of the metrics. And we've talked about this, and those of you that are on MBS Highway, we talk about it all the time with the metrics, price to replacement cost, price to rent, affordability, all the demographics, everything is favorable for housing. It went into this roaring, and it will come out of this really strong. So talk to your customers about this as an opportunity for them. And think for yourself as to, it's easy to get frozen in this. It's easy to get kind of tunnel vision, but I want you to just think about what's really taking a hit and what has to come back. There's so much opportunity everywhere around you. Plan for those opportunities that you'll see tomorrow, today. This is where so much wealth is created just during these times. During these times is where you create wealth for your future. I just want all of you to think about that for yourselves, for your family, for your customers. And Cindy, is there any quick question that I can answer before I go? Because I'm going to hop on this next call. But I do want to tell all you guys that I'm sending you all love, and I'm sending you all really good wishes. I'm telling you that there's reason for optimism. And I want you to think about this prospectively, is that, sometimes you look back and you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was 3 years ago or 4 years ago or 10 years ago. I can't believe, Cindy, you and I met, goodness gracious, 20 years ago, right? Doesn't seem like it was that long. And, heck, I'm reminded every time I get another freaking birthday. Thank God I get them, but I'm like, oh my God, did that happen already? So time tends to pass very quickly, and we'll get through this. I know it's going to seem a little bit difficult, but we'll get through this. We'll get through this, and we'll look back on it, and it will be a tough time, but we'll be stronger for it. And I know you guys can handle it, and I know you guys will come out of this and help so many people through it. But anything else, Cindy?
Barry, thank you so much for your time. That was really, hugely informative and actually encouraging. I don't know, I have a very strong feeling about the real estate market, because if you look at it from a human perspective as well, is that how many people right now have been sequestered in an environment they don't want to be in? How many people are sitting there going, I knew we should have bought last year. They're in a 2-bedroom apartment. They have no yard. I think there is going to be an entire market of people that still have jobs that are saying, we can't let this happen again. We've got to make sure we're in an environment where we have room for our children and we feel safe. And it's a big deal in terms of, the human experience. So I think that's going to be a whole nother opportunity too.
Cindy, if there were ever a reason to buy versus rent and live in a suburban unit, this reminds us of so many advantages of doing that. It really is. I am really optimistic. I want you to know that I'm truly optimistic. I'm optimistic on the medical side. I'm optimistic on the business side. But we just gotta toughen up through this period. This is just, we'll pull together. Let's help each other and let's get through this period. Help your companies.
Well,
This is that John F. Kennedy moment, team, where
anything we can do to support you, Barry, you know that we're here. So,
oh man, thank you. But I wanted to just say, this is the time, kind of like that John F. Kennedy moment where it was, this is not the time to ask your company to do for you. This is the time you need to ask, what can I do for my company? Because we need all of our companies to stay together, to stay in business, to stay strong, get through this period, because the future is so bright for us. We're going to need a place to do all the business that you will be doing. So sending you guys a lot of love and health, please, to you and your families. Be well, everybody. And by the way, I just glanced over at all of these unbelievably kind and sweet comments. You're going to get me choked up, so I'm going to go because I don't want to embarrass myself, but I want to tell you that it means an awful lot to me. Thank you.
Take care. Be safe. That was an awesome update. So I want to just continue on here because I know that we've got a lot to cover. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with my share screen here. I'm going to ask you guys to nod a yes if you can see it. Okay. All right. So part of the purpose of me putting together this presentation for all of you was really to focus on how do we now move forward with our referral partners in a virtual world. I mean, it really is a new day. We've got to think differently about our business, and all of my coaching calls, we've been brainstorming ideas as to things that we can really do to connect on a much deeper level. So one of the things I know for sure is that it's possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. It really is a choice right now. So right out of the gate here, I want to, first of all, just acknowledge each of you for choosing to be here, because that's an extraordinary measure in and of itself. I know it's a lot of chaos and uncertainty going on in our industry and the world, but you leaning into expansion and continuing learning and growing is really critical at this time, and learning from those around us. So I just feel really honored to be able to share this training with you today, and hope that it helps you tap into your own greater possibility. My goal with the training is to surround you with like-minded peers, amazing mortgage community leaders, and to bring you some knowledge, wisdom, and insight to truly help you embrace and just reinvent the connection in this new world that we're in. So I wanted to just share, these are going to be the topics we're going to cover today. Lead during crisis. We've got to really focus on our own leadership skills. Hopefully, for those of you that were on the call last 2 weeks ago, we also put together a how to manage in challenging times survival guide. You can either go to my website at cindyertman.com if you didn't get a copy of that, and we can send you a copy, or you can email us at info@cindyertman.com. We're happy to give you a copy of that guide. We're going to be sending out a follow-up guide to this call, which I think you're going to find extremely valuable, which is really going to be how to lead a mastermind group with your referral partners. We have been doing this with my clients for the last couple of weeks and giving you lots of different call topic ideas. So I think you're going to get a lot of value after the handout that we're going to give you in the follow-up email. So as we know, this pandemic is fundamentally changing the way that we do a business, obviously with social distancing and new working environments, everyone being connected virtually. The one thing that is most important that we can rely on are our connections and our relationships. And it's really time to go deep with those relationships right now and really focus on that, because things like the coronavirus create disruption. And now what we have to do is assume that's possible, right? Because this is the first time this has occurred in our lifetime. And now how do we get prepared to succeed in this in case anything like this happens again? So we're not so disleveled, but we've got a plan of attack. So let's talk about, I literally made a list of all of you, and you have your own list of probably 70 challenges in the last 3 days that my coaching clients have brought up. Obviously realtors not being able to sell homes, buyers being unable to view properties, people being quarantined in undesirable living conditions. I've talked to several of those, which is why I think the real estate market has such a great opportunity moving forward. Fear of the virus just has many people paralyzed. Their brains are just overwhelmed because they're just thinking about so many things. Working parents now home with homeschooled kids. This is such a big deal. And just the last 2 days, 2 of my coaching clients have said their processors, like the wheels have just fallen off because they're working from home. They're taking care of children. It's a lot for people to manage. Obviously, appraisers not being able to do inspections, non-QM resources, disappearing, jumbo loan investors. I mean, Wells Fargo acknowledging they're leaving the jumbo market, margin calls and hedge loan risk, pull through lock loan risk, government loan. The list is ongoing, so that we know that's a pretty big deal. But I want us to really focus today on how you can be part of the solution. That's what we have to think about. We can't control this, but we got to focus on what we actually can control. So I want you to think about and brainstorm with your teams. It's a great idea to do a huddle with your team on Zoom or whatever your video conferencing center is, and be able to begin to brainstorm solutions to the problem. And I'll tell you, when you go into that creative solution mode, it starts to become fun again, and you start to get people engaged. So we've worked really hard in this last week to brainstorm new ideas for the people I'm coaching, and then for me to be able to bring this to the people on this call as well. So education, right now, we've got to sort of pivot in terms of our education. And, obviously Barry, such a leader right now in telling us what's going on, giving us the up-to-date as to what's going on in the market. And it's kind of hard to predict what to expect because it's changing so readily. But, going to Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind group on Facebook, Dave Savage, huge shout out, just providing so much value, interviewing 2 leaders a week. Also their YouTube channel, highly recommend it in terms of starting to get educated as to what some other top leaders are doing right now to shift the paradigm and create because we've got to create new success right now. We don't want to wait to get to the other side. We've got to stay in flow with this and begin to lean into it. So innovate. Begin to master video conferencing and video calls. And look, I want you guys to know, some of you are rock stars on video. I could go by name. I'm looking at your faces. I could tell you who's awesome on video. But there's others. I've talked to several national leaders this week that have said to me privately, I can't stand it. I don't want to do it. I know I need to do it. But, we just have to get over ourselves, because right now, the world really needs you. They really need your message. They need your education. Your realtor partners and your referral partners need you. So it really is time to just let go of that fear. I had debilitating fear of public speaking for many, many years. Completely debilitating. And I just kept doing it. I made myself do it, and I got through it 2 ways. 1, by repetition of continuing to do the thing I feared, and 2, by realizing it wasn't about me. And so I'm going to give you that tip today in terms of when you're doing a video, you're sending a video to your realtor partners, you're educating on Facebook or Instagram. It's not about you. It's really about the people that you are serving. And if you get out of your own head, it really helps to sort of set your intention that it's really about the message that I'm here to share. So tap into the power of social media. If it's not been your thing, I'm going to highly recommend you kind of make it your thing, because obviously with having to be virtual, it's very powerful. Communicate. It is time to double up on your outreach. Call people to say thank you. Call every single realtor that's given you a deal in the last 12 months and just thank them. Build upon the relationships you already have. Again, just really make that communication piece a very, very big deal. And then concentrate. Really embrace focused thinking. Get together with your team. That 80-20 rule, Warren Buffett says, write down the top 20 things that you want to do and focus on the top 5. So get really clear right now on what are your top 5 things that you want to master and work on and move forward on. And we're going to give you a suggestion for what we think one of those should be right now. I wanted to share this with you because I thought it was really, as I started thinking yesterday about the fact that there are so many people that are not living in a place where they are comfortable. So, when I started thinking, I was talking to one of my clients yesterday about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is a really important time to look at this and say, look, safety is a really big deal. Psychological needs are air, water, food, shelter. Those are big deals. So people now are going to be like, first and foremost, we've got to take care of our family. So it gives us an opportunity to begin to have those conversations with our borrowers about, where they're living now. Because yes, interest rates are terribly important, but so is more important is safety, personal security. And there's going to be a lot of people now that are going to, if this were to happen again, want to be in a place that feels much safer and much more comfortable for themselves and their family. And I want you to really lean into video. I mean, so we've got some new things to consider, right? When we're leaning into video, one is, you know, setting up a reverse office, right? Because now everybody sees what's behind us. So to be effective, I mean, I do a lot of training on Zoom and have for the last 4 years. So I built a home office about 3 months ago, and we became very intentional about what was behind me. So think about the space that you're in. I know all of us don't have private space, but think about what is behind you. Really think about the lighting, because in almost any room, you can get a really inexpensive light kit. I'm going to send you guys all the link of the light kit that I have. Inexpensive, works great. You can brighten any room and really, really, you know, shine a light on you, literally. Enhancing your audio, you know, using earbuds, headphones. I just got a new Mac desktop, so the audio on that's pretty great. But certainly it's not great on my laptop. So if you're leading video calls on your laptop, you may want to invest in a microphone to go with that. FaceTime calls, video messaging calls, WhatsApp video calls. There is lots and lots and lots of ways to lean into that. So I have to share this with you because it was actually really fun, and I'm going to encourage you to make the same experiment. So about a week and a half ago, it was a Saturday night. I was a little bit bored, and I just didn't feel like watching television. So I made a decision that I was going to make a list of 12 national leaders that were also, you know, friends of mine, many of them. And I'm going to call them on FaceTime at, you know, it was 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. And I just picked up the phone and I FaceTime. And it was a little bit of a social experiment because this was new for us to be sort of housebound. And I was really curious to see who would pick up on a Saturday night on FaceTime. But much to my surprise, one of the first people to pick up was Barry Habib. We had a great conversation and had a great update. But it was really amazing because what happened in those conversations, 5 of the 12 picked up. But in those conversations, it was amazing. I guarantee you none of us will ever forget that call because it was out of the norm. It was a little bit bold. They're like, Cindy Ertman's calling me on FaceTime on Saturday night at 10:30 on the East Coast. But I have to tell you, it made a difference. It got people's attention. We bonded. I mean, one of the people that picked up had just gotten out of the bathtub and hair was wet, and it was great. Like, we had this really bonding moment because it wasn't the normal business time that I would call someone. So I'm just going to tell you to play with this a little bit. Call your realtors on FaceTime. You know, if you don't have an iPhone, call them, you know, do a video and send it to them. It's just so impactful. If you do not have video conferencing, obviously Zoom does offer free subscriptions. I think they only allow you a 40-minute call, and obviously a lot of mastermind groups and things go longer. It's $14.99 a month. There's Google Hangouts that you can have video conferencing. There's Facebook Live. Lots and lots and lots of different ways today that you can connect in the virtual world. And then it's really about reinventing connection. I mean, at just such a much deeper level. And, you know, I'm just all about connection, always have been. Relationships. It's such a beautiful thing right now too, because people are so open to building new relationships with you. So I want you to really think about your opportunities. And I want to share a quick story. Last week, my assistant called me and said, hey, you know, this realtor reached out and wanted to connect with you. Well, this is a realtor that worked with my team about 10 years ago. I'm not on the front line with my clients, but I do have a partner that I refer my business to. This realtor reached out because he said, my wife and I, they're a huge real estate team. My wife and I are in search of a new lender. Now think about that, you guys. There are going to be so many realtors right now in search of a new lender because either their lender doesn't have the resources they need additional resources for sure. You have such an opportunity right now to connect with realtor partners that you have not done business with. So I want you to make a list of 10 new potential realtor partners or referral partners of any sort and set up a virtual coffee call. Do a virtual coffee appointment for 15 minutes on Zoom or FaceTime, or it doesn't really matter. But let them know that you want to share with them an update on the market and what's going on. They want your information right now more than ever. And so I want you to really see the opportunity here because we will not be in this space forever. And the time to build those relationships where a lot of people are shrinking, for you to go bold, make those calls, set up those coffee appointments, and really begin to follow up. Get them into your database. I've got a training, and we're going to put together some of the questions from the training, which is a live, it's how to conduct the first meeting, and it's called Connection to Conversion, and it's 40 questions to ask a realtor. So I'm not going to give you the whole training, but I am going to break down some of the questions and put it in our follow-up guide. So you will have some key questions that you can conduct that coffee appointment with great ease. You don't have to, I'll give you the script so you can do it very, very simply. And then be a go-giver instead of a go-getter. Focus on adding more value right now. That is what this is all about. Everything is about what we can give, which is why I'm doing this call. Just reach out in service to these people. They're going to be so grateful that you did, and they will never forget it because they need what you have to offer right now. And just one of the things is I just want you to really think about the intentionality. Some of the people I'm coaching right now, and just jot this down because I think this would be so great to just make a commitment to do 5 calls a day. Just reach out to 5 people a day. Do 5 emails daily. Do 5 daily texts and write 5 thank you notes. That's pretty easy to do. You could carve out 45 minutes and get that done, no problem. That level of connection and that level of intentionality in your business will make such a big deal, such a big difference. And then show daily appreciation for everybody on your path. I know it's so frustrating right now with teams being overburdened, but I want you to just get in really intentional about, connecting with your teams, saying thank you, showing appreciation to your processors and your operations teams that are working so hard to take care of your business. And then talking about social presence. And again, I coach so many people, and it's about 50-50. Some are all in on social, some hate it, but do it anyway, and some just don't. So I'm going to really encourage you. This is the time to get connected on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. You don't have to be an expert. I spend most of my time on Facebook, but I just really got intentional this week, made a commitment to go all in with LinkedIn as well. So just update your profile. There's plenty of people out there. You can post on Facebook and ask for recommendations for who can help you with setting up profiles. There's lots of people to help in the marketing world. Creating short YouTube videos to just inform your market as to what's going on. They say by 2022, 82% of all content is going to be video. So it's time to get on that bandwagon. There's no ability anymore to fear video. It's just, just do it is really what it comes down to. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you will become. It starts, particularly if you just decide to lose the perfect picture thing and just go like, who cares? We're all at home. Everybody's dressed casually. It's the whole world. Now is a great time to go on video and not worry about how you look. And then just posting positive updates that inspire you instead of continuing to instill fear, because everybody needs that right now. They need you value, share humor right now. There's so many funny, memes going around right now. That's great. So complete your Google My Business profile too. I think that's a great idea. It's amazing how many people find you off Google right now. And then I just want to talk a little bit about how to lead a powerful virtual mastermind group for your referral partners. This is going to be in the handout that I'm sending to all of you, and it's going to give you a step-by-step process as to the power of a mastermind group, how to create a mastermind group. So one of my clients and I had brainstormed a couple of times in the last 2 weeks on how to really put together a successful mastermind. She actually asked me if I would be a guest on her mastermind. She launched, I think 3 weeks ago, right at the beginning of this curve, a realtor mastermind group. She invited 10 realtors she hadn't worked with and 10 that she had a relationship with. And she had 17 people show up for that call. And she's been doing them every Monday. So I give her huge kudos and huge credit. We brainstormed different call topics that you could use for those calls. So that's going to be in the handout. I'm giving you very specific call topics. The other thing is I've got my Mortgage Mastermind Elite group tomorrow night. We're doing a happy hour. Come with your funny hat, no agenda, just to stimulate conversation, share best ideas, share challenges, have some fun, make it light. Have each person bring their favorite cocktail or mocktail. So you could have a mastermind happy hour as well and try it. You have nothing to lose. And I kind of go into this saying, I don't care if 5 people come, 3 people come, 20 people come, you're helping whoever shows up. So I just want you to really give it a try, and you're going to get a step-by-step guide for us to really help you accomplish that. So this is the gift that you're going to be getting. Actually, you're going to get this plus a lot of the content of this presentation. But we'll be sending out the Referral Partner Playbook for a virtual world, which will include how to lead the powerful mastermind groups. I think it'll be really helpful if you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And we've already got these going for some of my coaching clients, and it's working extremely effectively to build new relationships. So hopefully you all enjoy that. And I wanted to just let you know that I just decided this on Monday, because so many people have reached out and so many people need support. Most of my programs are very high end and expensive, but I want to help more people. So the last 2 years, I led 90-Day Jumpstart to Mortgage Success Live. And that program is $997. Many of you on this call went through my 90-Day Jumpstart program. So we do 2 Zoom calls with me leading it live. There's Q&A, a lot of communities forum. So I decided that I'm going to reinvent that program, but I'm going to do it in our current virtual world. We have already started building the content to be able to give you scripts, and so you don't have to reinvent success in this virtual time. So I'm going to be, it'll be in the email that we send out to you. For those of you, I'm cutting it in half from $997, dropping it $500, $497, just to help more people. I just am so committed to helping people get to the other side of this and thrive during a really challenging time. And lastly, just, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the next right thing. I know right now it feels like there's so much coming at you. I mean, I know that it's hard, but the next best thing is to do the wrong thing. It's okay, because you can course correct if you do the wrong thing and it doesn't work. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. And I just believe more than ever right now, what we need to do is lean in to taking action, lean into making positive choices, lean into supporting people, taking care of our families, our friends, connecting with our referral partners, connecting to our team, showing up in love and patience and understanding. And I am here to support you in any way that I can in that effort. So I'm going to unshare screen here because I have an amazing next guest that is with us. And so I'm going to turn my video back on here. So I want to introduce our next guest, and that is Jonathan Roche. Jonathan has become a great friend. He's really an incredible human. Jonathan is an award-winning fitness expert, best-selling author, 12-time Ironman triathlon finisher, and a 24-time Boston Marathon finisher. That's exhausting, Jonathan, I'll tell you right now. He's also the founder and CEO of Breakthrough Health. He holds 2 patents on personalized interval trainings. Jonathan's a peak performance coach for professional athletes, CEOs, and other leaders from some of the largest companies in the US. In addition to leading Breakthrough Health and coaching, Jonathan flies around the country guiding leadership teams and companies to attain peak performance. Please welcome Jonathan Roche. We're so happy to have you here. Jonathan, can we hear you? Gotta make sure he's unmuted. What happened to Jonathan? Malia, can you see him?
He's unmuted. We're unmuting him right now.
Jonathan, are you with us? Huh.
I'll send him a quick note.
Yeah, well, I think he's, I know he's with us for sure. Well, and if for any reason we don't have connection with Jonathan on this call, we will have Jonathan do it via video and we will send it out to all of you. But let's give it one more minute. Huh. Jonathan, are you with us? Do you want to pop in the chat? I wonder if he lost connection. It's entirely possible. So what I want to do in the meantime, does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to share? Anyone have something that's working for them right now? I'd love you to unmute yourself and just join the conversation. I'd love to answer some questions. What about you, Fred?
Hey, Cindy. The one thing I've been doing is I've been buying dinner for my clients that have birthdays, especially the ones that are maybe a little bit older. And it's been great because a lot of my clients, well, don't worry about it, Fred. It's a good excuse to drop off. So I've been going to different restaurants. In fact, the restaurant owners would actually include an extra cake or a candle or a little note. So that's been the thing I've been doing on my way home from work, and added a lot of joy to my life to be able to give back to them.
I love that. I mean, anything we can do right now, that's such a great idea. Talk about being a go-giver. That's awesome, Fred. One of my coaching clients, Shelly Heimer, I've been so proud of her. She went to 2 local restaurants. She has friends that own 2 local restaurants, and she ran a tab of $1,000 at each restaurant for them to provide pickup to-go meals for healthcare workers. And it was just such a beautiful gift. I mean, not only was it incredible, but it got put all over Facebook. And I mean, she's just a major, major giver on a day-to-day basis. But thinking of those kinds of things, way that we can certainly support, you know, our businesses locally. I'm just checking here. When will the new course begin? Sorry, the new course is going to begin May 6th. We're going to be doing 2 calls a month. The calls will be recorded. They will be a membership site. Everything will be dumped into the site. So even if you can't be on a call, you'll never miss the call or all the handouts and the training documents that we're going to give you. So I'm actually really excited about that because I haven't led it in a while, and we'll put together really relevant material for everybody because this is a new world and it's changing daily. Right? I mean, we're all with what Barry is sharing of what's going on. I highly recommend MBS Highway in a big way. If you're not a member, it's worth its weight in gold. And you can email at nicole@barryhabib.com and get information on that. The other thing that we see Jonathan, but no sound. So I think Jonathan is having a sound issue. Jonathan, I'm so sad, but we will do a recording and we'll get it out to all of you because I want to make sure that you hear his incredible message. Jonathan, he inspires me on a regular basis, so I want him to inspire you as well. He's really incredible. So we'll get a video from him and get it out to everybody. And I just wanted to, first of all, I wanted to really thank my team because to do these 2 training webinars that we've done over the last 2 weeks takes a lot of manpower technologically, a lot of time in terms of the preparation. My team has worked tirelessly through weekends. I greatly appreciate their help and their effort to be able to pull together training content for all of you. Again, Mortgage Coach, can't recommend it highly enough. And I'm going to put in the email follow-up for all of you. Many of you know Bill Hillestad, who's really a social media marketing guru. Bill is offering a course right now. It's normally $1,500. He's reducing it to $750. He is an incredible, incredible teacher for how to. And what he's done is he's teaching people in his boot camp how to generate 10,000 plus views while building your social audience. And he swears it dwarfs any database. So I just want to really make sure, I'm going to get that information out to you. I would highly suggest you check out Bill's training document because I just think it's going to bring such huge value to everybody, particularly if you're not a social master. Jonathan, I'm going to give one more check to see
I think he's just signed on, Cindy.
Jonathan, are you with us? I saw him. You are a co-host.
We see him there.
We just can't hear him.
Hey, Cindy.
Yes.
Michael Harrington here. I was just going to say about Jonathan, since I've been on stage with him at Sales Mastery a couple times for weight loss, he's amazing. If you guys don't have access to a gym, which is about 100% of you right now, one of the things that Jonathan's had for years has been being able to work out from home. That was how he came into our lives, and it's actually how I lost all my weight, was working out from home. He's got, I don't know how many coaches, but they're all world-renowned coaches that, and you can figure out which workout's best for you off of his website, but it's energyup.co that you can go to. I believe there's a free trial for it for 7 days or something.
There Thank you, Michael. I'll be sending that out in the follow-up email, and the handout 2 weeks ago as well. We gave the company name and all that so you can sign up. There is a trial that you can test it. And that's awesome, Michael, because I know you had great success in training with him as well. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I appreciate that. So first of all, I want you to just ponder these last few questions. I think it's an important time. Hang on 1 minute. Jonathan Roche is calling. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Cindy, how are you?
I am good. Can you call in on the call-in line by any chance?
Let me try that. I'll drop you on the cell and call that. I can see you guys, but you can't hear
We
me.
can't hear you, unfortunately, but we'll give it one more shot.
All right, awesome.
Thanks,
Try to
Jonathan.
call in real
Bye.
quick. Okay.
So while we're waiting for him to call in, I just want you to think about what the greatest gift is from this experience so far. Look, we know this is tough, but there's also, there's great learning that goes from this. So what's the greatest gift that's come up through this so far? I've talked to many people that are more connected with their kids than ever. And then what needs your attention most importantly right now? What maybe haven't you been tending to that you know you need to tend to? I would really think about that. And what are the lessons that you're learning from this experience? Maybe how unprepared were you for this? Like, what are the things that you haven't been doing that you can now lean into and focal point, what you need to do to move forward with success in this next world that we're living in? Because look, I think there's so much opportunity ahead. And like Barry was saying, look, we know we're going to have low rates. We know we're going to get to the other side of the virus to be able to show properties again. They're expecting, because of the economic crisis that's going on, for rates to be low for at least another 2 years. And with the pent-up demand for housing, there's going to be incredible opportunity. So I just want you to prepare for it. And I want to help you be successful, because we are some of the lucky ones. I'm telling you, I am so grateful to be in this industry. We are really, 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 really fortunate right now. So I'm going to see, can we try one more time? Was Jonathan able to get on by phone?
I see him on, but Jonathan, can you hear us?
Slowing down to be more mindful and deliberate. I love that, Gina. More consistent with video. And Erin Page, you are great with video. I've been hounding you to that for a very long time. You're awesome with video. That E+R=O video, I've never forgotten that. You're so good. Best thing is self-discipline because of shelter in place. Work on personal health. You guys, we all, myself included, have to work on personal health. Very intentional about that. And I also think creating a new schedule, it's different when we're at home. And even if you have kids at home, we do better when we have schedules and routines. So if you haven't developed new routines while you're at home for your family and yourself, highly recommend you really working on developing a new routine. And I just, I want to share that, look, I've been in the mortgage industry for 32 years. I have lived through my share of business and life adversity. I was running a branch and a region in Southern California with my partner in 2007, 8, and 9. It was tragic what we went through. And even though very different circumstance, it felt very similar because we didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. We had no idea if we were going to be in business the next day. Mortgage companies were closing the door every other day. It was a very frightening time. So the gift of those experiences in our life is that you learn to keep taking a step. And this is why I want to give you that courage right now to just go, I know this is hard. I know it's scary. I know we feel really vulnerable, and that's okay. Share that vulnerability. It's really, really, really an important part of this right now. Be human with your realtor partners and your family and your friends. And look, yeah, I've had so many major people call me this week saying, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I'm struggling. Who else on this call could say that they may have struggled over the last couple of weeks? I've certainly had my moments of struggle. And that's when we need to reach out to people to get support. One of the reasons I want to do 90-Day Jumpstart in a virtual world is to give you real support so you're not on this journey alone. So I actually, I ask God each day to use me for a purpose greater than myself and to help me help more people more fully. That's just hugely, that is part of my purpose without question. So whether you believe in God, the universe, a higher power, that's your choice. But I believe that everybody has this incredible power for greatness. And right now we have an opportunity to make a choice to step into our greatest self through adversity and to hold space and to listen. And once I give you this handout for how to lead this great, powerful mastermind group with your referral partners, don't overthink it. Just go invite 20 people and don't care who shows up, because the people that are meant to show up are going to be there, and you will form a deeper relationship with them than ever. And we're going to give you call content so you don't have to make it up. But I want you, it's not even about having an agenda. You can actually just share, what are you experiencing? You can just set up 4 or 5 different questions too on that mastermind and just have it be an open forum. So I don't want you to overthink it. But I think when we really shift from being in the service industry to who am I in service to, the more you can show up in service to your partners right now, you will see massive results as we begin to work through these challenges to get to the other side. I was listening to Dr. Brene Brown, who says, if you want to help others, you must first allow yourself to be vulnerable. Give yourself permission to be vulnerable, reaching out with no expectation, and just, no expectation of getting anything in return. So reach out to your referral partners just with the attitude of service, education. You know a lot about what's going on the market right now. Share that gift with other people that don't have access to as much information as you. So I am truly, truly grateful. I'm going to give one more shout at Jonathan. By any chance, are you live with us yet?
He's trying, Cindy. I see him. He's the 303 number, and I think he's trying to talk. Must have some audio trouble right now.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yay.
Oh, we can.
Ah,
Okay.
yes, persistence.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and let you take it away, Jonathan. I know we're at the top of the hour, you guys, but I would encourage you to stay and listen to Jonathan. He's such an inspiration. Jonathan, I've already read your bio and introduced you, so I'm gonna let you just take it away.
All right, thanks, Cindy. So real quickly, I'll only keep you guys for about 10 minutes. And coachable moment within the experience we just had, which is my discomfort right now is 0%. And I don't mean that like, oh, look at me, I have all the answers. But from a leadership standpoint, our teams are studying us. They're not just observing us as leaders, they're actually studying us. And it's such an opportunity to move to the front and embrace that, particularly when things go wrong, like the video's not playing and my negative voice with all that inner voice that wants to go, oh my gosh, the video's not playing. But these are first world problems. And I don't know why my computer wasn't playing. I've been doing a bunch of Zoom calls all week. At this point, it doesn't matter. I'm blessed to serve you. So I'm going to hit the gas. But real quickly, again, we're being studied right now. It's kind of like when you're on an airplane and the plane starts taking turbulence. You do 2 things. You check your seatbelt, and then you start studying the flight attendants. You're trying to figure out what's their deal. Are they still having a nice conversation with the people 2 rows in front of you, or are they freaking out? Now, if they're in a more relaxed state, you take that on and it gives you comfort. But if they're firing up the aisle, it makes you uncomfortable. You're studying them. In calm waters, leaders are observed, but in stormy waters, leaders are studied. So that is a tremendous opportunity for all of us. My definition of a leader isn't, are you some professional athlete or a CEO? It's, are you in a position to be observed by others? And if you are in a position to be observed by others, which really means if you're breathing, then you have a tremendous opportunity to lead right now and do what I call become an extreme leader. And what I mean by that is the current reality calls for a 6th gear of leadership. It calls for a heightened level of energy and positivity and optimism and hope. Barry and Cindy are glowing examples of that. If you really study them, they're in a really calm state. They are in control. They authentically believe their message, and you can feel it. And there's a quote going around on Facebook. I'm not sure who it's from, but it's, your energy announces you to the room before you speak. And your energy also announces you to your team before you lead. So today, for these 10 minutes, I'm going to go at this like I'm your peak performance coach. We just got on the call. I'm going to empower you to leave our 10 minutes together in a state of being elevated, but also with a couple tools and strategies to go back and execute at a higher level. So I'll just mention the current reality. I'm calling it the health situation. I'm not using the word anymore, and that's on purpose. And I have my clients doing the same thing. I feel like every time we mention the word, it stresses us a little bit. It's kind of like saying you're tired when you're way down in your sleep and then you keep yawning. So for me, the current health situation has quickly turned from a 5K or a 10K into an Ironman. And it's not an event any of us signed up for. A lot of people are struggling emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically because, one, they didn't sign up for it, and two, it's exhausting. And when we decide to change, I'm going to drop weight, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to go for the career change, it can be very challenging. When we are forced into a situation to change, can become debilitating. So what I want you to think about is embrace the fact that this is extremely hard. This is one of my tactics for the athletes I lead, but it's also for myself when I do Ironman or the Boston Marathon. For instance, the Boston Marathon, it's very hilly. And every year I get to the hills, I'm catching a beating. Not surprisingly, it's a marathon. It's at mile 18, these crazy hills. My negative voice wants to whine and complain, oh, you've done this 23 times or 24 times, whatever the number is. Why is it so hard? Well, it's a marathon. In the current CV Ironman, it's an Ironman. And every endurance athlete, me included, knows there are going to be points in the event where the wheels are coming off, where you're feeling like, man, I am down and out. Cindy just mentioned it like 5 or 10 minutes ago before the video challenges. She was saying, you know, this is hard. She was talking about she's receiving some calls from some leaders who she wouldn't think are having a tough time, but anyone who is alive right now has had a couple windows of time over these last 3 to 4 weeks where it has gotten extremely challenging. And the key to excellence within an endurance event, because this is my 40th endurance event after all my Ironmans and marathons, the key is to not get in a negative state about, wow, I'm having a tough go, but more a simple question, which is, what do I need right now to get my A game back? Is it water? Is it nutrients? Is it positive content? Is it to watch a video from Cindy or some other really empowering person that you're blessed to follow so you can get the lift from them and then get back to execution? And the key word here for us, because I've been telling my clients this for multiple weeks now, this is my 4th week of guiding these world-class athletes and leaders on their journey. And really what I've been saying to them is this is a 2 to 4 week process. This is probably not it's a 2 to 4 month process, not a 2 to 4 week process. And as we accept that, a key word is pacing. We want to pace, because I've even seen it with some of the people that I'm blessed to serve. All of a sudden you can see some marks in the armor of, oh, wait a minute, that person's kind of having a tough go. It's because people got into this state of, I'm just going to survive through this. I just need to get through this. And then they've moved away from self-care, which I know is a nerdy word, but that's the word I use, self-care. Are you getting your sleep? Are you getting your water? Are you getting your workouts in? Are you consuming positive content? Because the way you show up, most importantly to lead, most importantly at home, as far as your leadership, but also outside of your home, which I don't mean we're going places right now. I mean Zoom calls, conference calls, emails, text, etc. The way in which you show up is a product of what you're doing when the lights are off. When you know you're going to work trying to get to bed at night, or to not get really stressed out by consuming too much news, you're doing the work when no one's looking, so that when you move to the front, when you lead and they're studying you and your vibe, you're able to lead. Again, I just was able to pull on that. So that's why my discomfort level with the video thing was 0, because I've been pulverizing my habits, and I've actually increased my sleep, my water, my positive content, knowing that this level of extreme leadership that we're speaking about today calls on that 6th gear of leadership. Not only do we need to motivate and inspire, but we also need to be the example of what's possible by following the guidance we're giving our teams, most importantly, our home teams. And then lastly, we need to really be that picture of, we know it's going to be all right. We authentically know this too shall pass. And if you can do that, and then at the end provide tools and strategies, so you get them fired up. We're gonna take the mountain. Let's do this thing. You get the juices flowing, and then you explain to them, you've gone up this mountain before. You know exactly what you're doing. Just follow me. We'll execute on the plan. And then you explain, you know, we're going to get to the top of the mountain. And then lastly, you say, all right, take this. Here's your shovel. Here's your ropes. Let's do this thing. from a leadership standpoint, they get pulled into that, and then they start following you. And so for time's sake, I know we went over the hour, things got screwed up with the video, and I'm super blessed to have just spent this time with you. But I'll finish off with really 2 key tips. Number 1, focus on your controllables. What are you in control of? So I know I keep going back to it, but the video situation, I don't know why Zoom video wasn't working. It didn't matter. I text Diana from Cindy's team, and I'm trying to figure out, I mean, it's all good. I can't control any of that. No, my negative voice, that inner voice, wanted me to get fired up about it, but I choose to listen to my positive voice. So that's really the tip I'm trying to make, which is what I call the most important decision of your life, which is each morning choose your positive voice, because your positive voice is going to focus on opportunities and what's positive, and the fact you have a home and food in the fridge and you're healthy and all these things that are right with your world and yourself and your spouse and your kids. If you do not choose your positive voice, then by default, you usually choose your negative voice. Then you're stressing out about what's going on with the market today, and are the rates going to really come back, and what happens with the real estate market, and all these things that are, again, outside of your control, but your negative voice is guiding you in that thinking. And then I'll mention one thing at the end as we wrap up here, which is in this Ironman, in the CV Ironman, it's not going to be like a normal endurance event. And again, this is my 40th go at this. I know how to do this correctly and to thrive in the midst of the chaos. One of the things that you deserve to do, and is imperative for your family and your teams, is to make sure you're in a position at the end where you not only will be able to pat people on the back and say, hey, can I grab you a water? I know we're almost there. We've gotten through the swim. We've gotten through the bike. We get the marathon here. We can see the banner, where you are in a position where you can carry them to the finish. Because, Cindy mentioned I'm going to do my 25th straight Boston Marathon. I'll be blessed to do that in September. In 2015, finishing off the Boston Marathon, there's this small incline hill you come up over, and then you turn onto Boylston Street, and that's when you can see the banner. And that's when I have this really deep moment every year where I'm like, I've done it again. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute where my mom was treated. That's why I do it every year. And I have this moment with myself like, you did it, buddy. You're going to do this. And the banner is like 500 yards off, 500 yards away still, but you can taste it. You can almost taste the victory. And as I take that corner in 2015, a gentleman to my right tears his hamstring. There's a different, if you pull your hamstring, you can kind of hobble along. If you tear it, it looks like someone hit you with a bat. And so he actually went down, and I went over to him and I grabbed him by the shoulder and I said to him, do you want me to carry you? And he looked up with this look like, have you lost your mind? I go, I'm serious. Do you want me to carry you? I could carry you. I could put you on my back, or I can scoop you up in my arms right now. I can carry you this whole way. Do you want me to carry you? And he gave me this kind of like half smile, like, what? And he said, I think I can hobble in. And then I put his arm around my shoulder, and then about 5 seconds later, another runner came up and took his other arm. And the three of us had this magic journey together along the edge of the crowd in to finish the Boston Marathon in 2015. I tell you that story as we finish off today. Pace yourself. Go back in on your self-care. Don't survive, thrive. Get your water, get your nutrients, because they are going to be family members and friends and teammates that are going to be on the side of the curb, and they're going to be shaking their head saying, I do not think I can finish. And you're going to have to somehow pull it from somewhere within you to say them, to look them in the eye and say, do you want me to carry you? And that will be a defining moment in your life. We are going to get through this. We are going to come out the other side. And I will just say in closing, I did a video on 21 key habits to thrive in the CV Ironman. I did a video on my Facebook page. I also created a guide around that, and I created a way in a spreadsheet where you can take your score on those 21 key habits. They're mostly mental habits. You can go to peaklockin.com to the coaching tab, and at the bottom of the coaching tab, it links to both the guide and to the spreadsheet. And at the end, I am praying that I'm going to hear Cindy's voice in a second. I haven't just been talking to my phone for 10 or 15 minutes. Please, Cindy, say something right now.
Jonathan, thank you so much. That is big deal. There's no question. Focus on the controllables. You know, it's so easy to get caught up trying to put our focus on what we can't control, and it's just such a waste of energy. I know it's not always easy to do, but I love that, focusing on what we can control and influence and letting the rest go. Very, very, very powerful. And choosing to pace ourselves. I need to work on that personally, so I'm going to work on my pace. But Jonathan, that was great. Such important reminders. Thanks for the free gift. We really appreciate that. We'll be sending out a link to Jonathan's workout, which is easy to do at home. A great opportunity right now, super inexpensive, and I think probably something that everybody should sign up for, myself included. So thank you, Jonathan, for being with us and inspiring us. And I just want to thank you all for your time today, for showing up, for being here, for really just, you know, you showed up to support yourself, your business, your teams, and that's what this is all about. I'll look forward to getting a copy of the call out to you. If any of you want to share this, we'll get you the guide within the next 24 to 48 hours, and we'll be giving you some information regarding the 90-day jumpstart. And I hope to see some of you on there. It's a fun program for me to lead because it's live and it's a more intimate environment. We get to be more interactive in that course. So thank you all for being here. Have a very safe week. Blessings to you and your family. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we will see you soon. Have a great one.